Okay, Jackie Hoffman, Feud, Bette and Joan just concluded a few weeks ago on FX. How did you get the role of Mamacita?
Um, I'm not quite sure. I know Ryan worked with me before on a series called The New Normal. And Ryan, as we know, is very loyal and remembers people and knows what he wants. And I believe Tim Minear, also one of our writer producers, said he had a big hand in it. So I put myself on tape in New York, like I'm putting myself on tape in LA right now. And the rest is history.
What about the role when you read the screenplay really intrigued you?
Ah, well, when I read it, it was top secret, and I kind of didn't know what I was reading for. I was told I was reading for a German woman named Ilsa, and I was working for a woman named Miss Rexford. So when I first read it, I didn't know, and then when I found out it was Mamacita, and I knew it was about Joan and Bette, I nearly they had to peel me up off the floor. What was the original question? What intrigued me about
Mm-hmm.
it? Um, just that it was how nurturing a character she was, and how full of life it was. And of course it was great writing. It wasn't just like some idiotic, mindless type of sitcom thing, which I would not thumb my nose at either, but that this was so smart and sophisticated.
Joan Crawford, she treated her well sometimes, didn't treat her well sometimes. Why do you think she wanted to hang on with her all those years?
I think as I did more research on her, I think I always thought this. I think that they really loved each other, and I think they developed a very strong bond, like a maternal friend, almost husband wife kind of very powerful relationship. And she, who knows, Mamacita might have had empty nest syndrome. Her children were gone, and she always wanted to have a sense of purpose and belonging.
I wondered as I watched this thing what she might be doing when Joan was busy or at work, or if she had some hours off or whatever.
Yeah,
I
our
couldn't figure out
writers.
what her off time was.
Right, our writers were very creative, and they had that one episode, Marvelous Episode 4, where she went to the library to research and was very into her American citizenry, and I like to think she was. I think she was very grateful to be in this country, and yet she had a loyalty to Germany. She probably might have been trying to contact her children, and I have a feeling that if she was working for Joan, that there was really no time off, and she was always cleaning. She didn't strike me as a slacker.
No, not a slacker at all. What? A couple of the characters in the show are composites, but this was a real person.
Yes, I think everybody is a real person except for Pauline, except for Alison Wright's role. Yes, she is a real person, and thanks to a very avid fan who has a Facebook page about the concluding chapter of Crawford, it's called, I believe, that I found out even more information about her. I saw her resignation letter to Joan. She signed it Mama. I found out she really didn't speak English. She spoke only German. So they took some liberties, but they also kept true to the character. And I was also told that her descendants approved of my portrayal.
Now, working with you, almost all of your scenes are with Jessica Lange.
Yes.
Tell us about working with her?
Well, she's such a cool person. I was intimidated just, of course, from her track record, so I had to calm myself down. I couldn't keep thinking, this is the person who was Frances, this is the person who was in Tootsie, this is the person from American Horror Story, this is the Oscar winner. I couldn't think that way. I had to think, okay, I'm sitting next to her in a chair, we're eating craft service together, she's a person, because I wouldn't be able to function otherwise. But she made it really easy because she was so down to earth and so cool. And then when the cameras rolled, she was Joan Crawford. That was it. She was so on and so good and so multi-layered and so true that it made it easier for me to become her Mamacita.
Wouldn't hurt though in your particular role to worship her a little bit.
That's right. I mean, I really felt like, it's the parallels are amazing. I mean, Ryan's no dummy that way. And it's like the careers of, Lange and Sarandon are so parallel to that Crawford and Davis that you're like, okay, I'm working for a great star, so it's not much of a stretch.
And the scenes you did have with Susan Sarandon, tell us, how was she different than Jessica Lange?
Ooh, that's a good question. They're definitely different personalities. They're both really cool, down-to-earth broads. Susan has more of a casual nature about her, and Jessica can sometimes have some of a formal, more elegant quality about her. But, yeah, they were both just super cool.
Your character, because of that library trip, really instigates the whole plot of the big portion of the limited series, because you find the book that they shoot as Baby Jane. Can you just talk about that section of the movie?
Yes, well, that was in the first episode. I go to the bookstore, and Mamacita's never gotten credit for finding the source material. Pauline and Aldrich get all that credit. Yeah, that first episode we shot at a really cool bookstore, and I found the source, and I bring it back to Joan, and she selects it. So it came, like the discovery of Jackie Hoffman as Mamacita. It was the perfect storm of things that brought her all together.
And the Pauline character comes to you at one point because she wants to now be a writer and a director. And why did she sympathize? Why did Mamacita sympathize with her and try to make this happen?
Well, I think that Mamacita was a feminist in her own right. And, she says in the story she has this wonderful patriotic streak, which I think immigrants from the time really, really had. I know, my grandparents had it. I know my parents had it. And that in this is the land of opportunity, and you can be anything you want to be. And she saw the power of a feminine voice. She was working for a very strong woman, and she's a very strong woman herself.
As a actor and a performer, what was it like revisiting the 50s and 60s in terms of all of the art direction and costumes and so forth?
Right. It was the 60s, the early 60s, and I know it's against the law to allude to your age in Hollywood, but the early 60s is when I was a very young child. I probably shouldn't have said that. I'll get arrested now. But it brought me to a very sentimental place. It really just, because it reminded me of when I was a very little girl, and like looking at all these objects. I mean, the set, Gio, our set designer, and everybody on props, on every object was worshipable. It was so perfect, and such a beautiful, perfectly designed, tasteful, elegant production in every sense of the word. So that was like an incredible gift, to be able to be among all the clothes and all the stuff.
Any particular location or scene that you just really enjoyed shooting?
That's a good question. I think I love Joan's bedroom, Joan's house. Going to her looking in the children's room, and then going around with the camera moving around the corner and going into that gorgeous bedroom and the dressing room, the boudoir.
What about Ryan Murphy? We talked about him at the very beginning, and you have worked with him before. Like you say, he's loyal. I mean, you might next be seen in like Horror Story or the next Feud, or you never know where you'll wind up.
We can only hope I'm Ryan's next horror.
What is it like for an actor working with him?
Well, it's dizzying to, first of all, to see how accomplished and how busy and how multitasking he is, and he's a great director. Puts the direct in director. He gets things done. He's very, he's efficient. He really knows what he wants. He's a perfectionist, and he looks at every detail. When they were taking pictures of the costume choices, they're like, Ryan's gonna look at this. I mean, he oversees everything. And I don't know how he does it, because he does it on 12 shows at once. He's always He's on the phone about one project. He's texting about another project. He's like behind the camera on our project. It's like I said, it's dizzying. It's mind-boggling. And what's really crazy is that the quality of nothing suffers. Everything is at the top of the quality machine, you know? Everything, he's at the top of his game. It's not like, oh, this is gonna be less because I'm working on these 12 other things. It's kind of, it makes me feel like I don't function at all as a human being.
Makes us all look like slackers.
Correct.
Mamacita would have liked him.
Yes, Mamacita would have liked him very much.
What about now that everything's aired and all the installments have been seen on FX? People are still even catching up. What about your recognition factor? What are people saying to you out on the streets?
What are people saying out in the streets? They're saying Mamacita.
Do you feel like within the industry and within the fans that people now know even more about know
I
you
can
even
only
more?
hope. Who knows with this industry? It's mind-boggling and overwhelming and confusing, and I have no idea about any of it. But whatever recognition I get, I'm thrilled with.
I know you're just visiting us for a day because you're on Broadway too. Tell us about your role in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, I'm multitasking like Ryan Murphy. Flying back tonight to go on Broadway tomorrow.
So you're just missing
That's
one,
so Ryan of
one
me.
show?
No, I'm not. We have a very unusual schedule, so hopefully, if it works out, I'm not missing any shows.
Oh, good, good. Now, who do you play?
I play Mrs. TV, Mike TV's mom. For those of you who don't know the story, and I can't imagine that you don't know the story, but it's about 5 obnoxious brat children who win golden tickets to visit a chocolate factory run by Mr. Willy Wonka. And my son is Mike TV, and this is kind of perfect because he's screen video obsessed. So he's the perfect microcosm of the macrocosm of what's going on now, and I play his beleaguered mother.
He was always my favorite character, as you can well imagine.
Oh, really?
Being, so much a fan of this whole industry.
Right.
What about Christian as Willy Wonka?
Oh.
What is he like?
He's incredible. He's a true Wonka because he's a true inventor, and he's always coming up with new moments in the show, and he's our leader, and he keeps us incredibly interested, and he's incredibly funny.
All the reviews I read in recent weeks just talk about how he is such a great performer because he can bring out the funny stuff, but also the emotional stuff.
Yes, correct.
As somebody opposite him, what do you see in him that
Well, first of all, he
impresses
pisses me off because I'm funny and he's funnier sometimes. So there's that jealousy and that competition. Like, damn it, I wish I thought of that. And it really keeps me on my toes. It's like working with people on Feud. They're at the top of their game and they don't make them any better. And that's the same with the people I'm working with on Broadway. Everybody's so good. You have to be at the top of your game as well and in top form.
What sort of audiences for this show?
I call it family friendly but adult funny. So people are bringing tons of kids of all ages, and they're bringing them, in my opinion, I can't believe how young they are. They're sitting on laps. It's like, why are you bringing your 4-year-old to the theater? But whatever sells. And I think, the show is friendly for children and very family friendly, but it really incorporates the darkness of the Roald Dahl story. I mean, we do destroy those children.
Mm-hmm. And where will we see you next beyond Broadway?
I have to take a breath and find that out. Maybe Ryan Murphy has the answer. Wink.
Well, thank you so much. We've got you on our Emmy ballot. A lot of people predicting you're going to get in this summer.
Mamacita!